2, 1. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Meg. I'm here as part of the Power to Fly virtual hosting team. I am super excited to see all of you and really excited to get started with our chat today with Peg from Clarus Commerce. So before we get started here, I do just want to call out a couple of quick housekeeping items for you guys. In case you've joined us on another chat previously, this will all be kind of a repetition, but my apologies. I will get through this quickly so we can get on to our main event. So like all of our virtual events, today is all about you. It's about our community members and making sure that you have the chance to participate and interact with these amazing people, amazing speakers. So to that end, please feel free to participate. You all submitted the questions before today's session, but even if you didn't submit questions earlier, but you have questions that come to you later on, this is all about you and you have the power to direct the conversation here. So please feel free to do so. The different ways you can do that, there's a couple different ones. You can turn your cameras on and come off mute to ask questions, add comments, provide context on one of your questions if that's what, the one that we're answering at the time. Whether or not you turn your camera on, if you do come off mute, you will show up on today's live stream to our YouTube channel, as well as our recording that's going to get posted to our website and our YouTube channel. So if for whatever reason you have any kind of privacy concerns, cameras are not required to participate, by the way. If you don't have a camera, you can still come off mute and ask a question or a comment. But if you do want to stay off the recording for whatever privacy concerns, anything like that, no problem. You're still more than welcome to participate. All you have to do is send your question, comment, context, whatever, into the Zoom group chat. Now, if you are in like super deep cover, black ops, don't want anyone to know you were here, not a problem. You can still participate by throwing your question in the Zoom chat, but instead of sending it to everyone, you're going to pick that little drop-down menu and select my name, Meg at Power to Fly, from the drop-down menu there and send your question or comment to me directly. I'll be monitoring the group chat as we go, putting some links in there for everybody. And so that's where I'll try and, if you put your question or comment in the group chat, I'll try and make sure that we raise it to our speaker, kind of where it would fit best, or make sure that we get to those. So obviously, prime treatment and preference goes to people that are here today and ready to interact and learn from Peg. So if you do, just like I kind of called out before, the session is being recorded. So whether you, whether you join us for 5 minutes, if you have to duck out and come back a couple times, if you stay for the full 60, or if you registered and are watching this in the future and you weren't able to join us for whatever reason, not a problem. In about 1 to 2 business days, everyone that registered for today's session is going to get a rewatch email that'll have a link where you can quickly watch this session where it's hosted on our website. But if Peg drops some really great knowledge or an awesome tip, and you want to make sure that you communicate that or share it with a coworker or a friend or cousin, whatever, you don't have to wait the 1 to 2 business days. You can always head on over to our YouTube channel. We are at Power to Fly. This video with this recording will be posted there within a couple minutes of us finishing today's session. So you can always run over there and grab it real quick so that you can send it out. You're also completely welcome to shout us out, take pictures or video as we go through today's session and shout us out and let people know that you are, taking time out of your day to learn and grow with Power to Fly. So please feel free to do that. You can tag us. We are at Power to Fly on basically every social channel, LinkedIn, Twitter, like I mentioned, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Please feel free to, shout us out or check out those various social channels. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, it's a great way to make sure that you don't miss one of these upcoming sessions without cluttering up your inbox. And it's also a great way to make sure that you know where to go back and review our one of our office hour sessions, or we have recordings of some of our panels that we've had for past mini summits and our mega summits. So please feel free to check that out. Let's see. Last but not least, if you do decide to come off mute to ask a question or add context, comment, whatever, try and make sure that you are only coming off mute while you're actively speaking. I call this out because you'll see me going off and on mute a lot today. I have a couple bulldogs that snore and sleep under my desk, and I just want to make sure that the audio clarity remains good for everybody. If I do mute you, it's not a rebuke. You can still come off mute and talk. It's more to maintain, maybe you have something going on in the background that you aren't even aware of. I'm not usually aware of them snoring anymore. And so that way we can kind of maintain audio clarity. Try not to talk over Peg or any of our other attendees. It can be hard with the lag times and stuff, just do your best. And if I'm prattling on and you would like to ask a question or comment, please feel free to interrupt me. I get paid to fill the silence, and I want to make sure that you all have as much opportunity as possible to, to kind of interact with our speakers and get your questions asked and answered. So as we jump in here, like I said, I will encourage you to come off, turn your cameras on if you like. I know it's much easier on our speaker to have kind of somebody to interact with, not just me. But if you've got, kind of a messy bun going, or you have a furry coworker on one shoulder and your child supervisor on the other, not a problem. We are more than happy to have all participation here. So don't feel like you have to be insta-perfect to join us. All right, so I would love to introduce you to our speaker today. Peg Schofield is a senior software developer with Clarus Commerce. She's based in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. After completing her master's degree in interactive media from Quinnipiac University, she started a career in web development, journalism, and graphic design. She had some freelancing stints as a web developer. She then started her own shop, built up a client base, and then also expanded into collateral offerings in logo development, photography, and more. She's been with Clarus for 5 years and still maintains a small client base as PurpleDog Web Productions. So welcome, Peg. Thanks for joining us today. And is there anything you'd like to add to that introduction?
Thank you for having me. I just want to say that my situation, the way I have a side hustle and a full-time gig, is not unique, but I hope that I can bring a little bit to the conversation and help some people out. I have been doing this quite a while, and I'm always happy to mentor and just provide a different perspective. So I'm absolutely happy to hear any questions out there.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. I just saw in the chat that some people are seeing like gray rectangles, and my apologies. It's where my Zoom bars are. So let me pull those out to the side. I'll have to keep looking over to my other screen. So apologies. I am paying attention to y'all. I just want to make sure that everybody can see everything. So thank you so much to everybody for calling that out. All right. So the next thing I want to touch on real quick is, before we jump in, is talk a little bit about Clarus Commerce. So Clarus is, like we said, Peg's employer, as well as the company that's sponsoring today's chat. I want to really encourage you. I'm going to drop a link, a couple links actually, in the chat here in a couple minutes, and I'm going to kind of explain to you guys why it's a really great thing to kind of check out their website or their webpage on PowerFly. So the biggest thing that I can tell you is, if you follow this link I'm going to send you, you can check out Clarus's Power to Fly client page. So you can check out some of their company info, learn more about the organization. There's also an events tab that'll tell you about some of the upcoming events that they're participating in, like today's chat and learn session, our mini summits, our mega summits, our virtual career fairs, all that kind of stuff. And there's also a tab there where you can check out their open roles. So when you go navigate to this page, no matter which of the tabs you've clicked on, at the top right of their company page is going to be this big pink button that says follow. If you are at all interested in Clarus Commerce, or if you check out their open roles and you don't see anything that suits you, but you really would like to, kind of keep your eye out for new postings with them, click that follow button. That is going to put you on their on Clarus's follow network. So the company, their HR team can see that. It tells them that you are very interested in working with them. And it also tells the Power to Fly team the same. So if we ever do any sourcing for Clarus, that follow network is usually the first place we look to see if anybody has a skill set that suits whatever job we're sourcing for. But the other great thing it does is, for you, it works kind of as your friend in the company that tells you, like, hey, they got a new role that they've posted. Like, check this one out. Don't miss this opportunity. So it really does a great job of keeping you up to date without feeling like you have to kind of keep going back to the same job boards, checking the same thing, running the same searches, and finding all the same listings. And you can do this, like join this follow network based with any company that's on Power to Fly. You can follow as many companies as you like. You can follow and unfollow at will. And so it's just a really great thing to kind of take advantage of, to make sure that you are getting everything and really taking advantage of the services that Power to Fly has to offer, and really making the most of being part of our community. So I'm going to share, like I said, a couple links here, as well as the link to Clarus's company page. So please feel free to check that out. Last but not least, before we get started, we have 2 slides here of the questions that we are going to ask. We compiled all the questions that y'all pre-submitted. So please, if you're more of a type A joiner, you don't have to take notes, but if you're more of a type A joiner, please feel free to take a screenshot of this slide as well as the next one. It's our 2 pages of questions. These were all pre-submitted by you guys. So we kind of condensed, removed redundancies and arranged them in kind of a conversational format. But if you are on today's chat and you see your question towards the end, I'm going to move to the next slide. So you can screen grab here if you like. Or if you have a question that might fit in well with one of these, please feel free to come off mute and ask it, or ask it up front so that your question gets talked about. This really, you are all completely free and very encouraged to direct the conversation here. So please feel free to do that. And if you have a question that maybe like you submit it in the chat and it fits really well with something we're going to cover in like 2 slides, I might hold it back and kind of bring it in that session, but I will try and make sure we get to every question that you guys ask on today's session. So Peg, to get us started here, this first question I thought was really interesting. This person wanted to know, what are some of the most important items I need to have ready before I launch my side hustle?
So I love this question because it starts in a number of different places, and I'll relate a little bit about my personal experience. But I think one of the first things you need to decide is if it's a hobby or a job. If it's something you're not sure of that you're going to be moving forward with this large investment of time and energy and usually money, if it's just a hobby, then you need to test it out and just kind of go forward and either do some volunteer experience or proof of concept. I think once you decide that this is a job that you want to do, you have to be prepared to put together a business plan, just like you would if you were starting your own company. I mean, it is essentially your own company. So that includes checking out your competition. Are you planning to be local? Are you planning to be more in a wider area? For me, checking out the competition in my area really encouraged me to start my business because there was just not anyone filling the need for web developers and the collateral products that I could provide. I knew that I could compete price-wise, but I also knew that it was more of an interaction with people who either knew me or I could relate to. So that was really a key for me to say, okay, I'm going to put together this business plan and jump right in. The things to put together besides the business plan, the idea that you're going to have to pivot a lot. When I started my business, it was a little bit of journalism and a little bit of web development to see where it would go. I gave it 6 months and I gave it, kind of $500 to $1,000. And I said, look, if it doesn't work, it's not a huge loss. And then it started to evolve more into the business of the web development. And that's when I started to add on the other needs that my clients wanted. So I added on logo design and more graphic design and job photography. So I think the key is, you need to do the business part, which is, setting up an LLC or whatever you need to do. You need to set up your pricing. You need to get your, if you need business insurance, if you interact with municipalities or nonprofits, larger corporations, you're going to need insurance to even bid for a contract. I think you need to set up banking and credit cards and, start working on a tax plan. One of the big things is finding out how you can market and network yourself in your area. There are, I know in our area, there's agencies like SCORE that will help you set up a business plan. There's networking groups, there's like BNIs and kind of smaller networking groups. And I think finding those before you make that big leap will give you confidence as you step forward so that you've got things kind of your ducks in a row. And then you move forward and you say, hey, I knew this was coming. I'm ready to pivot. I'm ready to expand. I'm ready to contract. So that would be a good start as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you for kind of like flagging some of those out because I know it can be really kind of confusing and you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but thank you for kind of, delving into some of the more practical and maybe really overlooked steps. Tatiana's in the chat asking, could you please talk more about what your side business actually does to kind of give us some context here?
Sure. So My side business is basically a smaller version of what my full shop was before I went into more significant contracting work, and then got a full-time permanent position with Clarus. So I do web development, and for those clients, they normally need a logo, they need graphic design, they need stationery, they need email setup, they need things like that. One of the things that I think will come up later in some of the questions, but I really want to emphasize at the front, is if you have a full-time gig and you are being entrusted with being a permanent employee, and like I promised Clarus that I'm giving 100%, you can't go into an endeavor that you're suddenly going to be on call 24/7. So my side hustle, I set expectations with my clients about when I'm going to get back to them and when I'm going to be able to finish their projects or tasks, but I'm not a tech support person. So you can't call me and help me fix my email. You can't, so setting those expectations with your clients and with yourself and say, look, when I am working for Clarus, I am working for Clarus. And when I am working with my PurpleDog, those clients, I'm giving my honest effort to give them exactly what they're looking for. And that's why my business ended up being expanded to, I have done print work for clients because they know I have their logo and I have everything else and I have the software to do it. So yes, I'll go have your stationery printed at a online or local printer. I can do that too, and I'll work with your. So it's as I traveled through the last probably 5 years before I went into full-time work, I definitely tried to be a one-stop shop. So I did a lot of site photography for construction companies. I've done headshots for about a dozen attorneys because that's what they needed.
Yeah, I think you're right. It definitely pays to kind of wear a bunch of different hats, but you're right. Those boundaries and those, setting expectations, I feel like that's kind of something that is really helpful to do both for your full-time job as well as for your side hustle. Lay out for your new side hustle clients, like what they can expect and when they can and can't contact you, or, when they can expect to hear back from you. But it's also really good to do that with your full-time job. Especially since a lot of us are still working from home. Or at least, working kind of like a little bit less conventionally than we might have a year ago. It's really important to make sure that you are setting those boundaries. You're not just working all the time because you're at home.
And I think that in picking your company, I think that's really important. I think Clarus goes above and beyond trying to make sure that we have a home life balance and that we have everything we need. Certainly this last year, I think it's been a biweekly or monthly survey that's gone out about how you're feeling about working from home and all that. So there's a lot that goes into choosing the company you work for. And though not everybody has choices like that, I feel like I am very lucky to be able to be in a company that is really, I'm not a person who needs a lot of, I'm not a high maintenance employee as far as I know, but because I don't have young kids at home right now and I don't have other things to pull me, but I am so happy that the people who do need a little extra flexibility are able to get it without feeling like they're, lesser employees.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before we move on here, but Brandy had asked in the chat, can you talk about what is a score and what is a BMI? So just for people who maybe are still in that hobby phase and have yet to move into a full-fledged side hustle,
so
can you explain some of those for us?
Sure. So SCORE, someone put it in the chat what exactly it stands for, but usually it's in our area, it's a group of usually retired or downsizing business people who are willing to give you free advice on setting up a business plan. So they point you in the right direction. They review your business plan. When I worked with the SCORE people, I was actually more of an advisor to them rather than me looking for them to advise, because they weren't as up to speed on the tech world. So I felt like, depending on which group you're involved in, I think it's really important to make sure that your industry is kind of up to speed. What are the expectations of, getting into a small or medium-sized company in the tech world, as opposed to going into a car dealership or another type of business. I mean, they're obviously the business plans are just different. BMI, again, Business Marketing International, maybe something like that, but it's essentially a networking group. They are everywhere. BMI is just the one that always comes to mind. It's has a fairly strict policy, so that it can work for some people who need leads all the time. It's a lead generating. I found the best networking came from people in my area. I was involved in one group that was all women business owners. And we just met for an early coffee every other week and kind of just supported each other and talked things through. It was a great way to spread your name for business, but I found it was much more of a support group of people who kind of knew what the challenges were out there for women who own their own businesses. There's also the model of you are a single industry. So there's networking groups that will, and again, I think this is the BMI model where you're the only web person in the group and somebody else is in sales, somebody else is in IT, somebody else. So there's like 40 different industries that they collect groups and you basically share leads to do that. Again, it's good for networking. For me, I found that my business, I knew what I wanted to do and I knew how to get the marketing out there. So I wasn't so much challenged that way, but I did love the support of having other women who were doing great.
Yeah, for sure. So Tatiana is in the chat. Before we move on to our next question, Tatiana is curious about your researching of your competition. She wants to know, or they want to know, I'm sorry. So there are like a lot of online web development companies. So do you service only local businesses? Is that where you kind of saw a lack there?
Yes.
Or how do you, especially in like this digital and virtual age, how do you maybe either limit or kind of seek out customers when previously you get either word of mouth or the local paper or something, and now you kind of are opening yourself up all to the world?
Great question. So when I was looking at my competition, and this was maybe 12, 13 years ago, I was feeling an opening and people were very afraid of the internet, on getting into web. Like there were so many words and challenges that they were just frightened of and confused by. And I think building a relationship in my community, I've done a lot of volunteer work and I did some pro bono work early on. They started to know me and knew that they could come to me to just even ask questions. So building that relationship, I took the fear out of them. I thought 5 years later, everybody would be comfortable with how to put up a web page, how to get an email, how to attach a PDF to your email, the things that you do. That is not true. I still get calls every week from people who, I'm not tech savvy, I don't know what to do, can you lead me through this? And I think that is the niche for my business, that whether it's, I am generally in Connecticut, and I do some work in New York City. I've done work in Michigan, some Rhode Island and Massachusetts, but generally it's, if I'm able to connect with people and somehow and walk them through the process of how a website and my version of a marketing product can fit into their business plan, it really makes them feel very comfortable. And I think that, as opposed to going to a larger company where they say, no matter what you have, we're going to redesign your website and we're going to make you the top page of Google. Those are not expectations that are realistic for a lot of small business owners. So I try and be fair and honest with them and give them what I think they can move forward with, and then work with them to kind of expand.
Great, thank you for kind of explaining that a little bit. We did have a question in the chat from Deanna, but we're going to touch on that in about 2 slides. So hold your, if you're also interested in Deanna's question, just sit tight and we'll go over that in a minute. So before we head over to Deanna's question, this person had asked, how do you allocate your time to the side hustle without burning out? So let's assume that it's not a hobby, it's actually a side hustle that you want to pursue as a business. how do you make sure that you're not burning out with the combination of your side hustle and your full-time job?
Yeah, very good. So when I first transitioned, I was working full-time on my own shop, and then I got this job at Clarus. So during that time, in my very busiest of trying to either not take on new project on the side hustle and jumping in full feet with Clarus, I decided that you can't work all of the time. So I decided I would work 2 or 3 days a week during the week, in the evenings, and that would be my time slot for the side hustle. So I knew I'd have to give whatever time was required for Clarus, and I was happy to do that. But I set expectations for myself and for my clients that it was going to be 24 to 48 hours before I got back to them. It might be a week before I was able to completely finish their task. For me, the weekends were where I knew I was going to have to give a lot more time to the side hustle. For me personally, the way I work, I like to work in blocks of time, and you just can't get that after working a full day and then in the evening. So I tended to allocate the evening work to answering emails, doing invoices, doing smaller tasks, doing some research on what I needed. And then when the weekend came, I'm an early riser and I got a good block of time and I can sit with my head down and code and work. So I felt that, giving yourself a chance to kick back, have a glass of wine and watch some television a couple nights a week without feeling guilty about that you had tasks waiting, just kept me from burning out. It was, planned.
Yeah, absolutely. So along those same lines, and you might not have had to balance this, I'm not sure where you are, in your personal life as well as your professional, but did juggling your side hustle and your day job jeopardize your family time at all?
I think you have to make some choices. So when my kids were smaller, I have 2 kids and they're both grown now and out. When my kids were smaller, I definitely waited till they went to bed, but I worked late. I don't need a lot of sleep, but I worked a lot after they went to bed. And my husband has always been great about taking that time on the weekends. So those same blocks of time that I needed way back when my kids were little, I was able to chunk out as well. So I think you're making choices of why you're having a side hustle at all. So if it's about career development, if it's about money, if it's about things that are important on moving your life and your family and your career forward, I think those are choices you have to make. I think if it's a hobby or if it's something that's just fun to have, again, those maybe you're not jeopardizing as much family time for those reasons because you can fit those in when you can. For me, it was really a career choice. I knew that it was important and I knew this is where I wanted to go, and my family was on board.
That's so great. This leads kind of a little bit into Deanna's question question here. She had asked in the chat, how do you balance getting new clients and producing that work? She says, I'm starting a marketing support business like yours, website design, print, and such. So this other question had been submitted previously, and this person wanted to know, how much time do you need to spend in your free time honing both your design skills and your developer skills? So let's talk a little bit about that balance, honing the skills that you need to kind of, keep leveling up your business or delivering for your clients, getting new clients, producing the work, and like you said, a little bit of the admin of managing, the actual business as opposed to just, doing the work and knowing that your skills are up to date.
Right. That goes into one of the reasons why I've stayed a sole proprietor in my business. Is one of the things that I did not want to jump into was managing employees. So while I have mentees and I have people that I work with and I have a lot of referral arrangements with people, I don't have to do the business work of managing payroll, which I thought was a big thing that I just didn't want to get into. So as far as honing my developmental skills, Clarus is incredibly supportive because they give us the opportunity for career development on company time. So whether it's taking an online class or going to a conference or even checking out for boot camp, I don't have to spend my personal time in doing that. I can fit it into the sprint that we have. And all I have to do is just ask and say, hey, how can we fit this in? And as long as it works in our schedule, they've been very supportive. When it comes to the design skills, I could work on it more, but I don't tend to. I think when I don't have any design work on my plate at the moment, I tend to go out and try and do something creative just to keep that side of my brain working. So I'll go out and do some photography, or offer the local theater group a poster for their performance, their production. When it comes to getting new clients, and again, I don't actively seek a lot of, I don't work in that area a lot because I don't want my side hustle to overwhelm the time that I have. But I have a lot of really good relationships. So I have great relationships with IT companies in the area who send me referrals. I have relationships with the local nonprofits. I tend to do a lot of nonprofit work. So they will refer me around as well. So I think it's really important that you keep those relationships going and that you're really upfront with the projects you've had in the past, that you're still there as kind of either tech support for them or support, hey, we're trying to make some changes. What do you think about this? If you provide that kind of advice, then the referral for the next one for them will be much easier. So I do tend to find that work comes to me. I don't have to go and seek too much of it.
Thanks for kind of calling that out, because I think a lot of times, at least for me, when I hear the idea of like, well, I have a side hustle going, like I have a friend who has an Etsy business in where she does graphic design and creates physical products, but she's a graphic designer professionally. And for me, I hear the idea of like side hustle and I kind of automatically think like, well, yeah, obviously this person is working towards making this their full-time job. And for now, it's not enough money or not enough work or not, it doesn't have health insurance or whatever. And I think when I hear side hustle, I sort of assume that. But you're right, and this goes hand in hand with what you said earlier about setting those boundaries or setting those expectations. If you're doing this for extra cash and you're meeting what you want to be making, not everything has to be Apple computers, right? Not everything has to be started in your garage and then becoming this like billion-dollar company. That being said, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. But knowing, like you said, what you're willing, how much you're willing to give to this, what you're expecting to get back out of it. Is it a fun way to hone your skills for your main job? Or is it something that you do to like, blow off steam or contribute to your community or whatever?
Exactly.
So thank you for calling that out, because it's one of those things that logically makes a ton of sense, but until you hear it, you don't really think that way. I have one of these moments on every single chat. So it's really fun for me to like hit that mind blown of like, oh God, yeah, like capitalism's a thing and all, but we don't have to like make everything, like take it all to the nth level. So you touched a little bit. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Well, just that I think there's a lot of reasons why you would have a side hustle. Like say, I'm very well compensated at Clarus and I really love my job and I could easily just not do anything else. But I always feel like, there's a creative side, there's a client interaction, there's other aspects of that I don't get to do with Clarus because of my position. It's in a medium-sized company, and I have people for that at Clarus. They handle the client interaction, they handle the design. And at times I really love that because it allows me to put my head down and really do some more extensive, more coding, which I love. But when at the end of the day, and I take a deep breath, there's a creative side to me, and there's a side to me that wants to get out with different types of people too. So that's the reason I keep the side hustle going. It's about the relationships. It's about the creative side. I love the work that I do in my side hustle. So I have the choice if I want to give it up, but it's definitely, it's not something I need to do right now.
Yeah, that's so great. Okay, so kind of along these same lines here, I want to jump back up to a different question that we had. So you touched a little bit about this in what you just said, but how has Clarus really supported you while you have your day job to go along with your side hustle?
Well, I think it's important to have boundaries with that. I never make my side hustle an issue with Clarus. I mean, I think they are the ones who are giving me, again, the chance to expand my developer knowledge, They're obviously providing this wonderful environment. The people at Clarus are super supportive, and they're diverse, and they're really wonderful to be around. So I try and never make it an issue with them. That being said, I would always support that what I do at Clarus is extremely important to what I do in my side hustle. It makes me faster. It makes me braver. It makes me, I mean, I will jump on projects in my side hustle now that I would have been apprehensive to do before. But because of the confidence that I get through Clarus and through the work that I do and the people around me, I'm like, I'm going to go for that. So indirectly, I think they support me a great deal in my side hustle. But I also think, as being honest with them that will never jeopardize what I do for them.
Yeah, okay, I can completely see that. And you're right, this theme of boundaries and expectations is really great. So Brandy is asking in the chat about your role at Clarus and wants to know if that's really how that is, complementary to your side hustle. So like, is what you're doing at Clarus the same thing really as your side hustle?
No, it's what I do for PurpleDog. It's actually, if you Linux versus .NET. So one of the reasons I was looking for contract work in the .NET world is because I felt a little stale in the WordPress, Linux, LAMP world. So what I do with Clarus has similarities. And again, it's more about confidence and speed. And obviously, I mean, I work in, HTML, C# and less and things with Clarus. That does translate over to my side hustle, but really it is very much two different worlds, which is kind of cool too. So.
Yeah, for sure. So to go along with this idea, this person had asked, when and how do you share your side hustle with your employer? Is this something that you want to disclose, assuming that it predates your upcoming employment? Is this something that you should disclose kind of when you're applying and interviewing? Or, it's, kind of conversely, if it's something that comes up or that becomes like more, becomes a thing after you've gotten into a specific company, when do you know when to share that with them, or should you?
So in my situation, I was a contractor for Clarus, and for about a month and a half, and then they asked me to come on full time. So they knew I had a side hustle, and the person who asked me to join on was familiar with my work and my volunteer work. We'd actually have kind of mutual volunteer paths. So I didn't have to disclose anything. What I did, I guess, continue and say, that I was going to tone down my side hustle a little bit. So obviously I would be able to accommodate a full-time position. My suggestion is to not do it during the interview process, but the company that you want to work for is the one that, I mean, if you have choice in who you're going to be hired by and what jobs you're going after, you want a company that's going to give you the chance to do things outside of work. And that's, if you're really big into volunteerism, you don't necessarily have to go into an interview and say, hey, I'd really like to devote 20 hours a week to my volunteer job. Is that okay with you? But what you're getting back from the company during the interview is, are they supportive of the rest of your world? Are they supportive of family life and balance? And do you, Clarus will seek you out and say, hey, I see you're involved in this. Can you bring this to the company? Where we did have Habitat for Humanity, we've done other things. So in looking for a good company to work for full time, those are things that wouldn't be a problem. There's a number of people who have side hustles at Clarus. There's bakers, and there's Etsy, and there's also IT people who do consulting on the side a little bit. So I think the company is just that type. I think if you are a contractor and you're looking to go into a full-time permanent position, and you get the vibe that they expect you to kind of give up your side hustle because it's either competing with them, which can be a problem, or you're they're worried about your time, you just have to decide whether that's, move on to a different contractor position or just stay as a contractor. I know these are choices that are nice to have, but it is something that you should consider, that if somebody's telling you to give up your side hustle, you have to worry about, well, what are the guarantees that this job is forever too? Signing non-compete clauses, things like that are something that a small business like mine had to do and had to consider when I was on my own. You have to be really careful about them, because they'll end up putting you out of business if you're in a full-time shop. As a side hustle, I think it's just something you have to consider when you're looking at your employer. I mean, you have to be considerate of them as well.
Yeah, for sure. So on a personal note, when I was still in the talent advocate position and sourcing for people to fill certain roles, one of the things that a lot of companies had us specifically look for was people that had outside experience that lined up with their job or the kind of roles that they were pursuing. So normally it was stuff like volunteerism or contributing your time or your expertise to a community project in need, something like that. But especially if it's a side hustle and it does kind of dovetail with what you're doing, is that a good way to share that with a potential employer and just kind of use it to show your dedication to this to this subject or this field, or use it to show that you're constantly developing your skills?
Yes, absolutely. I think any good employer will say, you're going to continue to grow. I think even with Clarus, I end up, because of my work with PurpleDog, I end up helping them update the Clarus Commerce website, because that's in WordPress. And so it just happens that, yes, I happen to be an expert at that too. So I think it helps in, keeping my eyes open for design and UI, UX and layout, which is not something that I make decisions on with Clarus. Helps me in my communications with my peers at Clarus when we're in discussions about making changes to sites and making updates. I ask better questions because my side hustle puts me out there in the real world. I tend to see the whole board, which is always my goal. So when I'm in a meeting at Clarus and I have those experiences, I'm bringing, I think, a much broader set of questions and challenges than someone who would just be in my position and not do anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we switch to another topic, I just want to quickly address another question that was asked. How you handle addressing this or sharing this with an employer any different than how you would handle sharing your side hustle pursuits with coworkers?
I think I would be a little bit more careful on sharing it with an employer. Asking the HR group, how should I present this if some conflict come up? Again, it's not my experience at all, so I'm kind of stepping outside my current position. But I think with coworkers, I think you'd be surprised how many coworkers have stuff they do on the side that either makes the money or they do, we're in IT. There's a lot of really interesting people, So I think they like to share it. I don't think I would worry about coworkers, feeling that your dedication is lacking. I think they would feel that you're growing and, looking at something different every day. Interesting people make interesting coworkers.
Absolutely. Could not agree more there. All right. So while we're kind of in the same vein, I know we only have about 15 minutes left, so I do want to kind of try and get to as many of these questions. People are asking great questions in the chat as well. So Deanna had asked, what have been the most challenging aspects of getting rolling with your business?
I would say it's working with the clients. So being able to learn how to onboard a new client with my business and how to take them through, understanding how to even just charge them. When do you charge them? How do you charge them? How do you write a contract? How do you knowing that you have to have a contract, knowing that you have to set things ahead of time. I've made a lot of changes throughout my PurpleDog company that have made it easier for me to push back on clients' expectations, making sure that they understand how I charge, that, I'm like a lawyer. If you call me up and we spend a half hour on the phone, I'm going to end up invoicing you for that. And this is how we do things. So I think those are the biggest challenges. Was how do I suddenly deal with a new personality every time I get a new client? And that it's still a challenge. I mean, I have fired clients, and I think everybody who owns their own business has to be able to do that. I mean, if they're not working for you and they're not helping you and they make you miserable, fire them. They're holding you back.
Yes, for real. That's got to be one of the pros to kind of running your own business, is that you get to make those choices. And again, kind of harkens back to your maybe kind of an overall underlying theme of boundary setting.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So one of the other questions that kind of dovetails with this subject, I'm trying to find it in our list here. Where did it go? Okay, so this person had asked, let me pull it up on the screen here for you guys. This person had asked, how do you manage that context switch, and how have you been able to balance that in a healthy way? So the way that it was also asked, let's see if I can find it, was kind of that idea, here it is, so sorry guys, that idea of like, how do you deal with working independently versus reporting to someone? And do you feel that your side hustle and your day job kind of fill different needs, despite the fact that they're very related?
Right. So working and reporting to leaders, I try and embrace as they are taking a lot of the hassle off of my back. So they give me a chance to interact about a task. They assign me a task. I do a task. I finish a task. They QA a task. It goes. So there's very little pressure for me when it comes to in the middle of the task. Once I have it and I understand it and I've asked all my questions, I just go and do it. When you're working independently, all things are open. You could have a plan and then you decide this isn't going to work, or the hosting is not this, or the client comes back and says, well, now I've decided changes, or my brother-in-law has an idea that I think you should entertain, or website by committee, my very favorite thing to do, where everybody's got an idea of how it should work. So I think while that is nice because living in a circus can be fun, it is something that with the reporting to leaders who I trust and who do their job seriously, it's a very different kind of vibe. So I think when I, take my dogs for a walk at the end of the day and I have dinner and I go to sit down and do my side hustle, I'm in a different frame of mind because I know I am all of those things, and dealing with the clients and dealing with their recent emails and how I'm going to answer back. So you really have to be in two very different places for dealing with the public as opposed to dealing with your coworkers.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so to kind of round us out as one of our last questions before we head into our kind of wrap up portion today, I wanted to touch real quick on this question. What have been your most treasured management tools? Are there outside things that you use to kind of keep you on track with deadlines or manage the the paying, the billing and invoicing part? Are there things that you tools that you use to like make sure you're leveling up your skills at the correct times, or reminders for here's the amount of time I was going to spend getting new clients, and here's the amount of time I'm going to spend on each project?
I wish I had better answers for this one. I am I'm a list maker and a note taker. I use Quicken for my invoicing and my billing. I use, Google Docs. I've got a spreadsheet to track my time. I use Carbonite to back up everything. My biggest note to everyone who has their own business is invest in keeping your workspace up to date security wise and functionality wise, because one thing you cannot afford is to have no access to work with your side hustle. You'll lose the confidence of your clients. You'll suddenly be that, oh, it's just that one woman show down the road kind of thing, as opposed to professional business. So I'm very conscious that my workstation and my tools are always ready to work, or I have a backup. I make sure that all my files are backed up all the time. So I don't have a lot of, I mean, I use a Google Calendar to track everything, and, but I wish I had better tools. There is one question I do want to make sure to address, and that was kind of the last one on the list about being a woman in tech and being in the workforce. I just wanted to speak a little bit to that, I really think that you have to be in the game to change the game. So with contracting and with doing any kind of experience that you can get to get into the field that you're looking for, it's so important to get the job and then to prove yourself and then be able to make changes. I found that small and medium companies were the easiest to get into for contracting gigs. And also they were more open once you got into them to develop kind of an understanding of how they were going to treat women in tech and diversity in tech. And I totally got lucky with Clarus. I did a number of contracting gigs prior to Clarus and kind of concurrently when I was contracting with them that weren't as kind of user-friendly. And when Clarus asked me to come on full-time, again, it was a really great match. They were, the crew was very supportive, and I had a choice of whether to stay contracting or to go permanent with them. But I think you have to have a seat at the table. Being able to be a woman in Clarus does not mean that we have, women all the way up to the boardroom. It puts my voice in the mix. And I think you can't be screaming on the outside. I mean, I'm a huge feminist, and I am all for standing up for the opportunities, but you got to get in the job. And I think you do what you need to do skill-wise to get into a company that you think is going to be supportive and progressive in those areas. And then you'll prove your value. You can always, we've had people at Clarus go from sales to product management to QA. Valuable people find their way, and I think they're supported in a good company. So I think it's really important for women in tech to just keep banging at the doors, keep getting that job, and then you can make changes once you get on the inside. I mean, I'm super happy I get to mentor young employees at Clarus. I get to sit on diversity advisory committees because I'm in the game.
Yeah, and thank you for calling out that, it's also one of those things that you want to make sure that you kind of let your employer know, because like you said, there might be room to move into IT or to, kind of start getting mentored by someone there. People in the IT department might have, resources or, information to share with you on places you can start learning these skills.
Exactly.
That, are either free or low cost. Things like Khan Academy come up a lot, Udemy. There's a lot of places that you can go to start learning this kind of stuff without having to feel like you have to throw buckets of money at it. And we actually have a lot of chats in our archives about, how to pick up these skills, how to find the right boot camp, how to, what to look for to make sure that you are not throwing good money after bad when you, are trying to learn these skills, that kind of thing. So please check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
to add real quickly on that.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Deanna. Thanks for coming off mute.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop off in a minute, but thank you so much for everything. But when I started out, I was a graphic designer, so I was more on the art side. But some of my best mentors ended up being my coworkers who were in development and programmers or managers of the IT department, and they were so willing to share their information and help, not in a formal setting, but mentor me and really taught me a lot and kept me interested in, both sides of the world of creating marketing in what we now have as our digital world.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the tech world is very, very friendly. I think, you hit that on the head.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so as we get going here, to kind of wrap everything up, I do just want to take a couple minutes to let you know, like we said a little bit earlier, Clarus Commerce is hiring. So before we jump into Laura, who is part of the Clarus, kind of HR team there, Before we say goodbye to Peg, I just want to say, I want to ask you, what is your favorite part about working at Clarus?
My favorite part? It's everything, the reason that I wanted to get back in. It's collaborative, it's supportive. The only reason I mean, my own shop was doing just fine, but the reasons I got out of working for myself and got into a permanent position are all of the positives that Clarus brings. They really are they work really hard at trying to do a good job of being a good company. You know, they think about it all the time. They put people in the right positions. They ask a lot of questions. You know, it's what I think I mean, when I started at Clarus, there was like 60 people, and now there's 150 something. This is how I'm so proud of how the company has grown. It really is a great place to be, and it's a great example of the type of leadership you can have kind of through this kind of invisible space. We're not a big public screaming company yet, and they're doing a lot of great things for their own employees and also for the community. So I'm very happy that they're who they are.
Awesome, thank you so much. So Laura, let's move it over to you. Since Clarus is hiring, can you touch a little bit on the positions that you're looking for, as well as any tips that you might have for someone who's interested in applying?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm our talent acquisition manager on the people operations HR team at Clarus. We are always hiring, which is great. Right now, we have 8 open positions. 3 of those are IT specific. So of the 8, we're really ranging from like client services to a paralegal job to marketing positions. But I just want to quickly touch on the 3 engineering specific jobs, and I'll kind of preface that by, I don't want to repeat anything that Peg said. She did such a great job of kind of explaining our culture and things, but overall, the company's very employee driven, very employee focused. We try to provide as many resources as possible to promote, employee growth, training, flexibility, good time off, things like that. Overall, very collaborative, friendly, fast-paced environment. And so I hope that you all consider job opportunities with us. You could reach out directly to me. I think Meg's going to send my contact info over the next couple of days. I'm happy to talk about opportunities at Clarus, whether it's a specific job or just kind of a general inquiry. So of those 3 positions that are IT, so the first one is an engineering manager position. This person is going to be managing a team of software engineers. They're more of a high-level leader, so not really in the weeds coding, a little bit more visionary and supportive of the engineers in terms of helping them grow, mentor them to really ultimately deliver value to Clarus. The next is a software engineer position, really focusing on like IT operations. This is predominantly an application production support type role. This person's going to be monitoring, debugging, production validation. The job offers a little bit of development in terms of kind of building automations that will help us test and monitor easier and faster. And then the last position is a solutions architect job. So this person will really help drive the technical vision and roadmap for Clarus, someone who can kind of take our infrastructure and code base and convert it into something that's going to scale and really unlock the potential of our teams, as well as contribute to our agile guild, lead meetings, architect reviews, things like that. So we hope that you reach out and would love to see applications from the Power to Fly community. So thank you all so much.
Thanks, Laura. And just to kind of reiterate there, if you do apply via the Power to Fly page for Clarus's Power to Fly page on our website, what that does is it makes sure that you are kind of coming from a verified source. We kind of are well aware of the really great quality of so many of our community members. So it tells Clarus like kind of where you came from and tells them that spending time with our community and reaching out to you guys is worth it for them. But it also makes sure that somebody from the Power to Fly team is following up on those applications. So if you ever feel like, especially at larger companies, that you kind of fall through the cracks, or, they get like a whole slew of applications and yours kind of gets, tossed to the bottom, it's a really great way to make sure that, even if it's really just a, kind of flaw in the machine, there's somebody following up on your application. There is somebody on with Powerfly saying, hey, I saw that, you got 3 new applications this week. Have you scheduled, to talk to those people, or have they been responded to? How's it moving on that end? So just please, please, please take advantage of these opportunities and these services that we offer, because we want to make sure that we're helping our community grow. So, any stage of your career, you can kind of learn from us, you can find new jobs from us, but we want to make sure that we're meeting those needs of our community. So please feel free to take advantage of this. Before we go, I just want to say, again, another huge thank you to Peg for taking so much time out of your day to prepare for this and come chat and share your experience and your knowledge with us.
My pleasure.
And Laura, because it's really great to kind of get that insider information from kind of somebody who knows how these things all work. So thank you so much to both of you. Peg, is there anything that you want to leave our audience with before we sign off for the day?
Thank you for having me. I hope that you all just kind of, be brave out there and keep pushing the envelopes. There's a lot of different levels to starting your own business and to starting a side hustle, and all things are good. Encourage each other as women and women business women. There's a lot of voices out there. We all speak a little differently. I think it's super important just to anytime you can help another woman in business, whether it's a full-time gig or their own shop, take that step out of your own world and do it. I think it's always beneficial to everyone.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Huge thank you to all of our attendees, everyone who submitted great questions before today's session, as well as those of you who submitted questions during today's session, came off mute to participate, added context and comments. Thank you so much, all of you. I do hope that I see many more of you on upcoming chats in the future. We have a chat tomorrow afternoon about radical transformation, as well as one on Friday afternoon at 1 Eastern about emotional resilience. So please feel free to check out some of our upcoming chats. I put links to that all in the thread. Check out our video archives, and hopefully I'll see all of you around soon. So thanks so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll kind of be back with you tomorrow for more learning. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.